The brain recognizes and sends to your pineal gland a trigger to wake up and produce melatonin, right? And as we understand, light waves pass through walls. So even if you're in a brick house, or a tall high rise, you're in the basement of your mom's house, condo, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? The brain is still going to recognize the waves coming in through that suprachiasmatic nucleus, and the pineal gland will start production with melatonin irregulated, right? Now, other species of animals are in a different sort of rhythm. Cats have an ultradian rhythm. Also, babies do too, for some, in some degree. So cats typically kind of nap and sleep all day, right? Cats can sleep about 20 hours a day. And that's there to conserve its energy so that when it's finally awake, it can go hunt, climb trees, do ridiculously biological things that we can't do physically, right? Now, our circadian rhythm is altered by age. So for you all, you probably do need about 6 to 8 hours of sleep, but you're very active in this stage in your life, so you probably could do okay with about 5. All right? Anyone here getting 8 hours of sleep a night? Close to 8? Anyone getting 7 hours of sleep? Anyone here getting 6? 6? 5? Who's operating on 5? Why 5? But you work in like a job that you gotta work late at night?
Practice.
Practice. You play baseball or
No, football.
football? Okay. All right. Anyone less than 5 hours of sleep? Anybody here ever work a graveyard shift for the job? Did it change or alter any of your brain activity, your mind, problem solving?
Yeah, I used to work at a bar, and for a long period of time I worked till 3 in the morning. And now there's definitely time, it's so ingrained into me that there's times when my body's like 10 p.m., wake up, working.
Oh,
So it'll get shifted around and I'll fall back into you're staying up till 3 in the morning.
wow. How long since you quit the job?
Beginning of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not getting enough sleep a long while, that's not a good thing. All right, so we have sleep cycles. So if you do sleep, let's say, yes?
Did you ever, going off the sleep cycles, did you ever hear about the Michael Sinfree? He was a guy who went into basically a cave. He was isolated from sunlight, and he's like, oh, he wanted to test his sleep cycle away from sunlight, and he found that like it switches off of the 24-hour clock and stuff.
All right, so 90-minute sleep cycles, right? So you figure this is looking at about 6 hours, right? But we need more because sometimes it takes us a little bit of time to go into the next sleep cycle. So between 6 to 8 hours is what we need. All right, so we say babies also have an ultradian rhythm, which means they nap, wake up, nap, wake up. That's why mom is like, hey, be quiet, baby, sleeping. It's like 10 a.m., right? Wake up, baby's taking another nap at noon. Wake up, baby takes another nap at 3 p.m., right? So they're on a different sort of rhythm. As we get older, we're on a different rhythm. So your grandparents may, they may fall asleep at 8 p.m., right? And they wake up at like 4 a.m. Like, why are they up so early? Making coffee, watching the news, listening to whatever. So it changes as we age, right? It changes as we age. And it also changes by experience. So Will here just said that he had to work at a bar, right? And had to work till 3 a.m. So your experience has changed the way you sleep, and now it's still anchoring you in some way, to some degree, in the present moment. All right, some people too, we have personality types, right? Based on experience, which means some people are night owls versus what we call larks, right? Larks are chirpy birds in the morning, right? Almost songbirds, right? First thing in the morning, always singing. Who here is a night owl? Who does like So for the night owls, is it that obviously you're more active, maybe your brain's more active, your brain's more aware, maybe you do your best thinking, you're most creative, like what is it about the night for you?
For me, it feels like I get like momentum going throughout the day. So it's like I wake up, I'm tired, I'm slow, it takes me a while to get going, and then it's like I'm powering through the day, and when I get into the evening, I'm still like cranking.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like I don't want to put stuff down.
You feel like you build up during the daytime and then
Kind of. It also like takes a lot for me to like. I have to actively like settle down because the 10 p.m. thing, I'm ready to just go. So then it gets to the evening, and if I don't, I'll just carry that momentum and energy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, okay, I have to walk away from stuff, put stuff down, go take a shower, and intentionally feel like it's sleep time.
Gotcha. So you gotta be intentional if you want to alter that. Alright. How about in the back? What is it about the night that changes your activities and behavior and whatnot?
I don't have to answer emails or be social at night. I've heard it called revenge procrastination. It's like the night's mine, so I can use it.
Awesome. Less distractions, right? You can kind of focus, you narrow your focus, right? You think in the daytime, like, hey, we're just all distracted by all the stuff we gotta do. A lot of it doesn't make sense maybe until the nighttime, when we dream, right? When we start processing everything that occurred, when we fall asleep, right? Or even before we fall asleep, we'll start thinking about the day, kind of reliving the day, talking to somebody about our entire day, right? Okay, so we'll get into brainwave activities during sleep cycles. Let's kind of skip through. All right, so we have non-REM and REM. What does REM mean? Anyone ever heard of REM? Which is rapid eye movement, which means what in layman's terms? Dreaming. So all you have to do is think of REM means actual dreaming. Right, which is a big difference than these other three. We'll learn why, right? Okay, so about every 90 minutes, people cycle through distinct sleep stages. Your first one is non-REM 1, or we just call it NREM, right? NREM 1. So slow breathing in a regular brainwave. This is the part where you can hallucinate. Why would one possibly hallucinate just falling asleep? What would be your hypothesis or theory? Like, just think of yourself. Like, is it times where you were just fall asleep because you're drowsy, but then maybe someone's like, man, you were talking. Like, what are you talking about? Or, you know, maybe you're doing something of the sort.
When you're like trying to think about, kind of go back to thinking about your day as you had, you're thinking about it every day, and so those thoughts kind of get like materialized in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You think of your body is getting prepared to process whatever occurred before that time, right? It's in this beginning stages. Now, if you say, well, you were watching TV as you fell asleep, you're going to take that content from whatever was on the TV show, even if it's subconscious. Like, you're like, hey, I stopped even paying attention to the show, but it's still playing, right? So your body's still receiving the information, right? Your brain's still receiving it, even though you're not fixated or aware of it. Right, so maybe part of it is you speaking out something about that show. Maybe you're listening to music, right? You're listening to whoever your favorite artist is, and that carries on into the beginning stages of your sleep. All right, so to say here in N1, our sort of wave pattern here is pretty regular, right? But we see some jumps, some pretty high jumps, right? Looks a little different than these. We'll see why. But pretty regular. I'll say pretty symmetrical. Okay, then we go into, we have hypnic sensations, which are very brief. Which means sometimes if you ever notice, you've been around somebody and they just fall asleep and they start like tipping and shaking, people who kind of shake in their sleep. I'm like, why you do that? Why you jolt in your sleep, all right? You have sensations that are hypnic, very brief. Maybe you're processing some sort of experience that you had during the day, in a physical sense. So you still have good physical connection with the body and the brain. All right, non-REM or N2 is relaxed, more deep sleeping, right? Usually this takes us about 20 minutes to get into. Sleep spindles, which means if you close your eyelids, you can see something spinning behind your eyelids, right? You can also see that too if you like ever go out in the sun and look directly at the sun but close your eyes. You'll start to see like why does my brain make these circular patterns? Like, what is that all about? These aid memory processing, right? So our brain is somehow processing things that were important to remember from that day, right? And we say we're talking here states of consciousness, so this is unconscious processing, right? You're not focused on it, you're not even possibly aware of it. This is an automatic process where the brain is like, we need to process all the memory. What happened today? What was important? What was unimportant? Let's get rid of that, right? And we have to store this in long-term memory, whatever's important. And then we have N3, deep sleep, right? This is when someone is very deeply asleep, but not yet in REM. REM means you could actually look at their eyes and see the eyes moving back and forth really quick, right? Dream state. But here we see someone's really deeply asleep because they're taking big breaths, right? They seem super relaxed. And so we can see that with the delta waves here, big breaths, right? But relaxed. All right, then we have REM. All right, so REM is rapid eye memory. That essentially means dreaming. And what happens in REM is something pretty interesting. And theoretically, the body gets separated from the mind. So you physiologically are paralyzed. But you're still thinking, visualizing things, mentally experiencing things, right? Which we call dreams. Right? Oh, it's a mental experience. But there's no physical connection with the body, right? Which is good, right? We call that protective paralysis. Why would we need that? Why, in some positive way, would we need the body to kind of be separated from the brain during this time?
So you don't act out your dreams or start getting up and moving.
Yeah. Like imagine if you think of all the weirdest dreams you had, whatever, right? Nightmares. Imagine if you acted them out. Now you're unconscious, right? That means you can get up, open the door, walk outside, you may live in a high rise, open the balcony door, jump off, whatever the case may be, right? Most likely you harm yourself and be dead if you were to act. We're gonna
For the N1, you were talking about how you feel those like body twitches and stuff. Have you ever heard the theory that those are your body's like testing against the paralysis you put yourself in? So like it makes you want to move to see if you're still awake, and if you don't, it's like, oh, okay, he's asleep, and then it like starts going to other stages of the.
Yeah, very possible.
You've heard that? Or?
Yes, I've heard that theory. Yeah. The thing is with these cycles, even when it comes to dreaming, we don't completely understand, why we have certain dreams. But yeah, there's some fascinating theories. That's one as well too. All right. So we say REM, right? Rapid sawtooth brain waves, right? Going back, what's that look like? We say here, really quick, right? Super narrow tight waves, a lot of activity. Here we say it's long, back down, long. Here we say really quick activity. Things are happening fast, really fast, right? So our body needs to protect us from that. All right, so rapid sawtooth brain waves, heart rate rise, right? Rapid irregular breathing, darting eyes, and momentary activity bursts behind closed lids. Has anyone ever had sleep paralysis before? experienced sleep paralysis? Where you like, hey, it feels like I can't move, but I'm waking up. Like I'm aware that I'm awake, but I can't move my body. Or you feel like you want to scream and you can't. Or maybe you're looking at yourself in your dream. No one? Very common, right? One of my other classes, more than half of the students have sleep paralysis, and usually it feels like someone is either sitting on their chest, right, and they feel like they can't breathe, so they're trying to wake themselves up to move, and they can't, or that either they see themselves like in the corner or looking at themselves, and they, want to jolt up to escape that sort of feeling. But yes, sleep paralysis. Okay, and then you got genital arousal, right? We say, hey, a lot is going on because we just see there's heart rate rising, right? Rapid breathing, right? And increased blood pressure, right? So there's increased blood pressure throughout the body. Even though you're unconscious, you will experience some sort of genital arousal, which usually is experienced a lot more in boys, men, right? Males. And it doesn't have to do with content. So think of when you're, for the men in the class, think of when you're a young man and you kind of get aroused throughout the night and in the morning. Like you may think it's because of what you were thinking about, but really it's probably just a purely biological function happening in REM sleep. All right, so what affects our sleep patterns, right? Things like genetics do. If you come from a culture of people that stay up late at night, guess what? You will see some sort of evolution within the genes, and now you may have that trait, right? To where you want to stay up late at night. Cultural influences. What kind of cultural influences could we think of that could affect sleep? Like, anything within a cultural sort of dynamic? Yes.
Could possibly like Mexican culture of the siesta in the middle of the day, so you can't sleep in the middle of the day, so you need less at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You think of maybe traditional things, right? People are participating in that causes sleep. What were you gonna say in the back?
Like how people slept in shifts, like in Rome, or
Yeah, you think of definitely, right? People were sleeping in shifts. You say from an evolutionary standpoint, no, the theory behind yawning, or what we call gesticulation, like, what would be the point for us to yawn if there's really no use to yawn? Right? Kind of like, why do we yawn?
Isn't it to get a bunch of oxygen into your body when you wake up?
Not really proven that that's true. It's kind of like, but why can't you just do that on your own? Right? You could think of maybe it's some sort of cultural signal of us working shifts, right? To signal to the next person in the tribe, like, hey, I think I'm tired. I think it's time for you to take over, right? That could be a theory of why that exists, but it definitely could be a cultural thing. All right, affects the presence or absence of light on the 24-hour biological clock. Think of your phones. Remember we said the suprachiasmatic nucleus, right, in the pineal gland responds to light, to photons. And you say, well, my phone was facing downward. It doesn't matter, it's still on, it's still emitting some sort of photon, right? It's not like it's gonna not pass through the phone, but to you. So keeping your phone off at night is, very, very important thing. Now, most of us probably don't. That's why Apple and Samsung have the sort of dark feature to always on, the kind of off sort of feature to try to reduce the lighting overnight. You leave the phone on all night. But it's good to turn off the notifications and things like that. Things that can make your phone turn on to emit this light, because your body's going to respond to it whether you like it or not. And it's going to affect your sleep, right? You're going to go in and out of sleep. Wake up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4, etc. So we say, yes, we have that suprachiasmatic nucleus, right? That decreases melatonin production. Now, melatonin happens in darkness, right? So we produce melatonin when it's dark, right? And when it's light out, we are decreasing the melatonin so that we are awake and alert, right? And remember, melatonin is a hormone. So throughout our body, we have all these glands, and we'll look more at that, where we produce hormones for certain functions. All right, chronic state of desynchronization among night shifts workers. So just kind of as Will showed, things don't synchronize appropriately, things can be kind of out of whack, and irregular sleep schedules, stuff like that. All right, so why do we sleep, right? What is the function of sleep? Well, you think about it just in a common sense way. You say, well, just like our phones, we need to recharge our batteries, right? Like, how are you gonna recharge your battery? Yeah, you go eat and you get more energy, that can help, right? And you can feel it. You can say, hey, I'm at 30%, I'll go eat a big lunch and I feel like I'm back at 60, but then you're doing more activity and work and they're just draining your battery all day, right? So eventually you need to charge the battery in one extended period of time, right? So we need to charge. We also need for protection. Part of that is protection. We're protecting our minds. We can say, hey, mental overload, right? All this activity during the day, a hard job that you work, all the schooling, all these notes, right? All the stuff you gotta do, it has to be processed away. So we say recuperation, protection, restoration and building of fading day memories, right? Your mind will automatically start to rebuild some of your memories that it deemed to be important. It's like, hey, guess what? Remember that thing we saw as we passed by and it briefly popped up for like 2 seconds? That was important. There was something important about that. Let's rebuild that memory to see what the reason for it was. Feeding creative thinking, right? So we say, hey, even going from non-REM 3 to REM sleep, one has, still like physiological features, other one no. But we need to, both of them, to sort of process some creative thinking based on what happened during the day. So maybe you're sort of stitching together things throughout the day, piecing them in some way to create some sort of art, right? We can say sort of creative way of thinking. It can be your vocabulary, verbal things, visual things of the sort. A lot of artists always say that, hey, I thought about that painting, that song in my dream, and then I kind of remembered it when I woke up and I wrote it down. Hence, you have that wonderful song everybody knows. And then supporting growth. So we do have growth hormones, and those react when we are asleep, right, and resting. So if you're not getting proper rest, remember as a kid, they never say, hey, if you don't get proper sleep, it'll stuff your growth, right? Like, you won't grow properly if you don't get enough sleep. Yeah, somewhat true, right? Because during sleep, we have growth hormones that operate through the pituitary gland that helps us grow. What time is it?
47.
Okay, we'll wrap this last slide up. Sleep loss, right? Well, you think of, hey, I missed out on sleep yesterday, I'll make it up today, everything will be fine. Not necessarily, right? We call these sleep debts. Sleep debt takes at least 2 weeks for recovery, right? So unless you are actively trying to catch up with the sleep every day, even doing that, it takes about 2 weeks before you normalize and feel yourself, right? So in unrestricted sleep, people average about 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep after sleep debt is paid, right? High schoolers, some of you in the class, 28%, in college, 69%, report feeling tired or being sleep deprived. Anybody here feels tired or sleep deprived? And if so, why? What's your honest reason why you feel sleep deprived? What's going on?
At least I think. Some days I'll actually be like, yeah, I'll still feel tired.
You'll still feel tired. What do you think it is throughout the day like that makes you tired? Is it your diet? Like, hey, I'm just not eating right. So being like crap, and that makes me just feel tired. Like, is it your activity? Is it too much social media? What do you think?
I think I get a lot of activities. I mean, I do a whole lot around, so I get home 5-ish, like earliest, and then I'm up to
Gotcha. So too much, right? Think about it. Sometimes we are doing too much. All right, when we're young, we think the more we think of this as the time to do, right? It's kind of like this is the time where everything needs to get done. Because you may have the most energy you may possibly in your life right now, right? And maybe even the most creativity in your life. So it's normal, right? It's normal for us to want to do too much. But if we're doing too much, think we become less efficient. So like really who's it helping, right? Because we can't do multiple things 100%, right? All right, some other effects. Conflicts in friendships, depression, predictive depression, right? Diminished productivity and increased risk for accidents, weight gain, and also physical health. Remember we say, hey, if you're not getting sleep, you're throwing off hormones, right? We have the hunger-producing hormone ghrelin, right? And if we're not, for those people who work overnight, they would say they're eating at night, so they're throwing off that hunger-producing hormone, and now they're just eating at a time where their body can't really process to get rid of it, so now they're becoming obese, right? Obesity leads to diabetes leads to other stuff, all sorts of things. All right. We'll come back to this on Wednesday, and we'll have exam review on Friday, our exam on Monday, so it should be good. And I'll try to have a group activity probably Wednesday. All right, everyone.